up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris Moore, and in today's video we got a 2016 GSXR 750 that has been on the channel before. Yeah, that's right, guys, this is a repeat offender. He's coming in for some more horsepower once again. He said he's already been kicking a lot of butt with the modifications he has, because he has two tunes on his bike. He's got MR12 tune on his B mode and pump gas on his A mode. So he has two perfect tunes in one ECU on one motorcycle, and he got it right here, one place. Yeah, that's right, guys. All right, but anyways, what we're doing today is we are installing a set of Carbon Smith velocity stacks. This is the first time I have installed a set of velocity stacks on a new 750 like this. We're gonna put these things to the test, see if they're worth the money or not. Stay with us, guys. Here we go. Alright, let's see how many of you OG subscribers remember this bike. It's been on the channel before. It's a 2016 GSXR 750. It has a full M4 exhaust. And like I said last time, we dynoed it on MR12 and pump gas. So we pulled up his previous numbers and then we run it about 4 or 5 times here before we started videoing to see if it was making the same, and boom! It was making the same, 135.33 horsepower, and that is on pump gas, boys. So you can see his tune nice and crispy and straight, his power curve nice and smooth and easy. We're gonna install these velocity stacks now. They go in here from Carbon Smith. We are going to put them in, not change anything in the ECU, and see what kind of horsepower we make. Here's the stacks. And then we are gonna adjust the tune, get everything just perfect on pump gas, and then we're gonna drain the tank, put MR12 in it, and see what this thing does. I'm interested to see the results myself. I know on GSXR 1000, these stacks are worth 4 or 5 horsepower in the upper RPM range. And what I mean by that is, see how this power curve falls down? It will kind of go straight, but usually we lose a little bit right in here. So it's gonna be interesting to see if these, or how these perform in a 750. So we got the stock airbox off, and I know a lot of you are asking, Chris, what in the heck are velocity stacks? These are the velocity stacks, okay? And what we're replacing is with some shorter ones here. These are just angled a little different. You see these little dimples in this? So the theory behind that is that fuel will stick in those dimples, in other words, kind of like puddle up in those dimples, and then the air will flow faster over the fuel than it would just a plastic surface. So anyways, that's the theory behind these things. We're gonna put them to the test today, see how they perform. They're pretty simple to install. You're literally just gonna unbolt the factory ones, which is held in with some 5mm Allens. You can't hardly see, right there they are. You're gonna unbolt those and check that out. So this also has a Sprint F185 air filter. This is the ultimate race air filter, okay? You can pretty much see right through this thing. It's made out of fine, like a micro screen or mesh. Similar to like what a screened-in porch would be on a house. But anyways, this is the ultimate race filter. The ultimate street filter, in my opinion, would be the Sprint P08. If you're not out racing and getting lap times and competitively trying to beat people like this guy is, then the P08 has a little bit more dust protection for your engine. It will do a little better job. You can see here on the inside, we got a little bit of dust and residue, and that's just part of it with this race air filter. You're gonna get a little bit of that. You gotta think this guy is doing pretty serious racing. He's putting in gasoline that cost $185 for that 5-gallon can. So he's trying to get everything he can. If you're just riding and having fun, I would go with the Sprint P08 air filter. You can get that on broxperformance.com. Use my discount code MOREMAFIA5, get 5% off. So I have got the stacks out, the factory ones, and we're kind of comparing them to these. You can see it's kind of hard, can't hardly get low enough with my camera because I'm using a tripod. Anyways, these are a little shorter, and then these are also angled up. So that's gonna change the way the air comes into the motor. Doesn't take a lot to make different power with these things. You can also see here a little installation tip. They have little 2mm Allen, or use a 2mm Allen socket to install these little screws. You don't tighten them crazy tight, but you do need to use a little dab of blue Loctite on those things too, okay? So whenever you go to install them, now that we've got the top and the bottom attached to each other, you'll simply just push them down. Now, these things are 3D printed material, meaning that you don't have to go crazy with torquing anything down. They're carbon infused something, something, something. I don't know. If you go on Carbon Smith's page, you can read up about them, but long story short, they're not metal. So they're not, I guess you'd say, as strong. So you don't want to go tightening everything crazy, crazy tight. He sends new hardware with them. You'll just run those in. You'll tighten them just like you would the lug nuts on a car. Here, 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 you know, bounce around, and then don't tighten them crazy tight. Like this one here, I'm just gonna run it in snug. Then I'm gonna go to the next one, run it in snug, and then torque, 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 back and forth, okay? So as you can see, the velocity stacks are in. Not a very hard install at all. Anybody that's handy with a few tools can do this. Now we're about to bolt the airbox lid back on and run it and see what it does. Let's see what kind of numbers we get without changing any tune. All right, here we go. We got the bike all warmed up. We got the velocity stacks installed. Remember, you didn't see it, but we did the baseline pull before we put the velocity stacks in. We got 135 horsepower. Let's see what we get now with the newly installed velocity stacks. Let's look and talk. What do we got going on here? So far, the velocity stack's not too good. So we've actually lost horsepower, and then we gained horsepower here. The red is our after, the blue is our before, okay? So you can see up top, we've gone from 131 to 134. So basically we picked up 2 or 3 horsepower above 13,500 RPMs, okay? But we lost horsepower at 10.5, really from 10 to 12, we lost horsepower, and a pretty good bit too, about 4 horsepower, 3 to 4, and then we also lost horsepower here around 8,000 to 9,000. We lost 3 and 4 horsepower there. So are these velocity stacks an epic fail? We're gonna have to see what the tune does to make this stuff right. We're getting closer. We're doing everything I can do to close that gap on those in the 10,000 range to try to get these velocity stacks close to back to where they were at in the lower RPMs. Now we're gaining good on the top end, but we're trying to get back every last ounce of horsepower we can on the low. Remember, when you do these velocity stacks, they don't necessarily add power, they shift power. So it takes power from one spot and moves it to another spot. That's the best way to think of it.
with the tune on pump gas.
The thing did gain pretty good horsepower on top end,
and we almost got back a lot of our power on the bottom end as well. So you can see here at, what is that, 14,200 RPMs, we've actually gained a solid 3 or 4 horsepower. We went from 132 to 135.9. Okay, and then you can see the farther you rev it, the thing keeps doing better. Went from 131 to 134.99, so basically 135. And then you can see it basically holds the same torque gain too. So it holds about 2 foot-pounds of torque better. And those gains go from basically 13,000 and beyond. So if you're out racing this thing and you're taking it all the way to redline, then it's definitely gaining power. Now let's continue on with our gain here, our loss here. From 10,000 to about 11.5, it looks like we lost 2 horsepower. So I did everything I can to close that gap. I made it as good as I can, but take a look here at 9,000 RPMs, we've actually gained 2 or 3 horsepower. So we went from 96 to 99. And then if you go back a little bit more, at 8,000 RPMs, we actually lost 1 horsepower, 2 horsepower, 3 horsepower here. So from 8 to 9 we lost, from 9 to 95 we gained, and then from 10 to 11.5 we lost, and then from 13 to 14.5 we gained. Also down here at about 6,000 RPMs we actually lost, looks like 1-2 horsepower there. So overall, up, down, up, down, up, down, no matter how you want to look at it, the stacks, they're only going to gain you top end. So if you're a top end racer, 9/10, half mile, stuff like that, you're trying to go the fastest top speed you can, I think these stacks will definitely help you out. If you're riding in the mountains, probably the factory stacks that come with the bike may be better for you because you're going to be more in and out of this RPM range here more often than you would be up here. So it all really depends on what kind of riding style you're doing. We're about to drain the gas now, get the pump gas out of there. We're gonna put this MR12 in and see what this thing does. Here we go, we're all juiced up with MR12. I've ran it here for just a minute to try to get it all worked in the system. I think we're good to go. Let's see how much horsepower just pouring this gas in the tank makes. No tuning changes yet, we're still on the pump gas map. Boys, we got some big power out of this thing. It took some MR12 to really wake it up, but we got the best run from the beginning of the day with the stock stacks and pump gas to the best run today with the MR12. Now it did make more horsepower everywhere with the MR12. Even though we changed the stacks where it normally lost power, it gained it back with the fuel. So putting the fuel in it really woke this thing up. We're gonna call it 140 horsepower, boys. Why is my Dyno so stingy? 139.99. Why couldn't you just give us that extra 0.01? Anyways, we don't need it. We're gonna call it 140 horsepower. Air fuel ratio on this thing, perfectly smooth. And if we compare our best, I don't even remember what our best line was. Overall, the MR12 was worth about 3 or 4 horsepower. You gotta figure that up percentage-wise, guys, from what you had to what you got now. It's pretty good percentage of gain for just the fuel and the tune. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a GSXR 750, comment in the comments below. Let me know, are the stacks worth it or not? Would you buy them or would you pass? All right, guys, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new to the party. Click the subscribe, click the bell for the notifications, and smash that like button. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Adios.